Iran's new supreme leader has vowed revenge for the killing of his father. Mojtaba Khamenei, who succeeded Ali Khamenei after he was killed in US-Israeli strikes, published a statement saying, "We pledge to avenge the blood of the martyred leader and all the martyrs of these two wars from the criminal and disgraced killers. This vengeance is the demand of our nation and must certainly be fulfilled." Now, that message came after days of funeral ceremonies for Ali Khamenei, events that were marked by calls for retaliation too, and explicit threats against the US and Israel, and US President Donald Trump personally. That was followed by a response from the US President on Truth Social. That's Trump warned Iran against any attempt to assassinate him. He said, and I quote, 1,000 missiles are locked and loaded and aimed at the Islamic Republic of Iran, with thousands of more to immediately follow, should the Iranian government act on its threat, pronounced in many corners of the globe to assassinate or attempt to assassinate the sitting president of the United States of America, in this case, me. Right, so how seriously should we take these threats? Let's bring in Kamran Matin, an Iran analyst and associate professor of international relations at the University of Sussex. Hello and welcome to the program, sir. So Mojtaba Khamenei says vengeance is the demand of the nation and must be fulfilled. Should we read this as a threat of immediate retaliation or, as a longer-term ideological commitment, do you think?
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, I think it doesn't say this has to be immediately carried out. I think we can actually compare this announcement or this call by Mojtaba Khamenei with what Ayatollah Khomeini in the 1980s said about Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses book. If you remember, at the time, it caused a lot of controversy. Khomeini issued a fatwa for his killing, which led to deterioration of diplomatic relations between Iran and many Western countries. But eventually this was solved by Iran declaring that they wouldn't send someone specifically to do so, but other Muslims might carry out this fatwa. I think in this case, Khamenei's, the wording is such that it doesn't say we will carry this out. It says, even if I am not alive or Iranian leaders are not alive, it must be carried out. And then it says that any free person across the world, Muslims are obligated to, whoever can is obliged to do so. So there is a degree of vagueness and the kind of long-term framework, but it is still very strongly worded and definitely complicates the ongoing talks between US and Iran.
Right. I mean, let's hammer a bit on the point you just made, because, yes, he suggests revenge does not depend on him or any current official. Does that somehow open the door, you think, for proxies, affiliated groups or individuals to act over time?
Absolutely. I mean, Iran historically has used its various proxies, Shia groups who are not necessarily Iranians. Hezbollah historically has carried out assassinations. I mean, specifically in Germany in the 90s, they carried out on behest of Iran, killing, Kurdish opposition leaders of Iranian origin and so on. So there is a history of Iran using proxies for these matters. In recent times, there were non-Iranians arrested on US soil who had planned to abduct or kill some Iranian opposition figures and so on and so forth. So this is quite possible. And judging by how Trump spoke in NATO summit in Ankara and several times mentioned Iran's attempt or plans to kill him, and how this clearly had angered him, and he has issued that post you just read, it clearly makes things much more difficult, because irrespective of how much this is for domestic consumption in Iran, Trump and US are likely to read this or take this quite seriously, and that would affect their position, their posture in the talks or dealing with Iran.
Right. I mean, both sides are now using that maximalist language. Iran speaks of sacred revenge, Trump of overwhelming destruction. I mean, I wonder what you make of that. Does that mean diplomacy is effectively off the table, or are these messages mainly aimed at, as you tried to allude to, domestic audiences? Is it just rhetoric?
Well, not quite, but I mean, it's quite remarkable that as we discuss this matter, Abbas Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, is in Oman, in fact, talking to Qatari officials, and there are reports that American officials are also involved. In fact, names of J.D. Vance and Witkoff and Kushner is mentioned. So this means that actually, despite all this harsh discourse, both sides still talk, and they do not necessarily, I mean, from Iranian perspective, at least, I think they do not necessarily see these talks with the revenge as mutually exclusive. They could try to reach an arrangement such that Iran can export oil and, gain cash to deal with its disastrous economic situation. And yet that long-term revenge, or the promise to revenge, is going to be basically, pursued at some point if they can.
Right. So the elephant in the room, or not in the room in this case, is Mojtaba Khamenei. He's speaking out, but only through text. How significant is it that Iran's new supreme leader still has not appeared in public?
I think it's quite significant, and the significance increasing by the day, because for a few weeks or a few months, it might be, justified in terms of the injuries he has suffered, or security concerns and so on. But given the political structure of Iran, in which supreme leader has basically supreme power, as the title suggests, his continued absence will create problems, especially in terms of internal unity of the Iranian state and government officials and so on. And ordinary people also would want to, especially those loyal to the Islamic Republic, would want to see the new leader. So I think the Islamic Republic, or the current leadership, might encounter difficulties by maintaining this complete absence, not even audio recording, because one could understand why he may not appear in public because of the facial injuries, but he could at least issue a recorded message so people could hear his voice. But we don't have that either, so it's becoming an issue actually for many Iranians.
Right. We'll have to wait and see how things go. Kamran Matin, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much.